It looks like the honeymoon for xCloud is finally over. Cloud gaming, what Microsoft thought was going to usher in a new era for Xbox and bring gaming to pretty much everybody and everywhere in all corners of the planet. It looks like that honeymoon is coming to an end, and Microsoft's making some internal changes. We're seeing some signs of these changes, and I'm not sitting here saying that xCloud or cloud gaming is a bad thing. I think it's just the reality of the market where Microsoft is sitting, and we have some good evidence to kind of walk through what we're going to dig into here. So this first popped up on Reddit where people were noticing that load times, or queuing times, I should say, for cloud gaming were getting kind of long and kind of extreme. In one case here, a user said, look, the queue is saying up to 60 minutes. Now that is quite a bit of time. And this person says that they were paying for Ultimate, so we'll just have to take them at their word. But if you're paying for a product and says, look, you can't play this game for an hour, and then they actually go on to say, look, it ended up crashing and then I got re-put back in the queue and there just wasn't time. That, my friends, is not exactly a premium experience if you're paying money for this kind of a service. Now, cloud gaming does work. People can play it. I was able to play it. I can still play it. I can still log into the browser and have no issues, but there's been enough reports where this is really becoming a kind of a finer point. And there's a lot of data to back up that Microsoft might be just kind of falling out of favor with this model. During the major massive acquisition trials and everything else that was going on, Sarah Bond over at Xbox actually said, hey, look, it's the least popular feature, and says the service is actually running at a loss. And if you're Amy Hood, who is the CFO over at Microsoft, if there's one thing you really don't like doing, it's operating a service at a loss. And so how do you do that? Well, you make changes and you shift strategies. And what it really feels like, and I think Google experiences too with Stadia, is that cloud gaming is really just a feature. It's not a product. I've said that before. And that Microsoft is very much going down that route again, which it does make things a little bit awkward because of their Ultimate and their streaming setups, and they're getting rid of Xbox Live. And one of the features they want you to pay more for is with this. But at the end of the day, it's again just a feature and not the primary product at the end of the day. And actually, hilariously, if you remember during this whole trial here, during the CMA and everything else, one of the things that was the real big sticking point in the CMA in the UK was actually Microsoft's cloud gaming service. And they're like, look, you need to figure something out here because this could be the future market. And here's Microsoft kind of quietly saying, no, it's really not actually our future, and we'll be happy to make changes because we're not making any money doing it. And actually, as of July 31st, Microsoft refiled in the UK to get to, bring you up to speed on the CMA to kind of push this deal through, which is going to go through, but they got to make concessions. And the TLDR of it is that Microsoft filed and said, look, with all these new deals, with the new Call of Duty stuff, with the new cloud gaming arrangements, we don't know if we necessarily need to spin something out, but at the end of the day, they're still able to do that if it's going to appease the CMA. It was a heavily redacted document that Microsoft submitted about how they are going to approach solving these quandaries finally and forever. But given this information right here, do you think Microsoft would be all that sad to kind of hand over a product that runs at a loss to a third party? It doesn't really seem that way. Now, when you dig into what's going on over at Reddit, it is just filled with people echoing this statement of, look, I am trying to get into cloud gaming. There are big queues, and it's just not living up to what we all kind of expected. And so here we are talking about cloud gaming. And to me, based on what I kind of hear through the grapevine of the world of Microsoft and what I see, it feels like the honeymoon has completely come to an end, and Microsoft is now moving, I don't want to say moving away from cloud gaming, but the emphasis of Xbox's growth is going to come through cloud gaming. It feels like that ship has officially sailed, and that Microsoft by itself noted that the primary reason people use xCloud, this is part of Ms. Bond's statements, that part of the primary reason people use cloud gaming is actually to trial a game before they download the whole thing and play the experience locally. If you've ever played these games, yes, they do work, but time and time again, I keep mentioning they're great for sort of role-playing games, not necessarily first-person shooters, which, let's be honest, on the Xbox platform is heavily skewed, at least initially, or in the US, heavily skewed towards that, especially with titles like Call of Duty which, as we all know, Microsoft is trying to buy, and that's not going to run great on their cloud service. So what I'm trying to get here is that Microsoft has recognized that, hey, this is not the future. We need to make some changes. And so you're wondering, what is leading up to all of these queuing times? Well, I think we actually know the answer, and it's in broad daylight. The actual issue might be Microsoft's AI efforts. AI, if you're not familiar, uses a ton of GPU power. And so here's Microsoft saying, look, we have this Bing AI thing, which they're licensing kind of or sort of own from ChatGPT, and they are trying to throw everything they can to grow this market share. And they're sitting there going, man, we are out of GPUs, we're out of cloud capacity, we need some more. Where can we get some more? Where can we get some more cloud capacity? It looks like Microsoft may be, and again, this is speculation, but I'm not the only one who's thinking this, and there might be some more evidence out there. So it looks like Microsoft is sacrificing some of cloud gaming's performance to help power its Bing AI experiences by using and freeing up that capacity. And I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. If Microsoft's sitting there going, gosh, cloud gaming isn't making us any money, we're actually running at this loss, most people are using it just to trial games, we're not seeing any big growth from Game Pass subscriptions because of this, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take away some of that capacity, we're going to push it over to the Bing team where we think we have a fighting chance, and people will just see queuing times. Now, based on some shooting from the hip analysis, it feels like, and it seems to replicate across Reddit and Twitter as well, that most people are seeing these types of wait times outside the United States. So it looks like they might be prioritizing that if you're inside the United States, you might have a better cloud gaming experience unless you are abroad. And at that point, the capacity is less, which is sort of how Microsoft loves to do it. Microsoft loves to roll out things in the US locally only first, and then they sort of trickle things out abroad. They do it a lot with hardware. Surface, Windows Phone was another example. But either way, here we are, people being abroad, Microsoft fans, once again, getting kind of the pooch, getting screwed because of that. I'd be curious if you guys are listening, like if you are seeing that actual queuing time, make sure you share your location, because it would help build the hypothesis that, hey, it is in fact people outside the United States who are disproportionately being impacted by Microsoft's pooling of the GPUs or cloud capacity to make their Bing AI dreams become a reality. So I just want to reiterate that I'm not like trying to bash on xCloud here. I think it's just more of the reality that we are seeing play out based on Microsoft's own terminologies, based upon their own court cases. And so here we are seeing xCloud. It's not going away, but the honeymoon, I think, is certainly over, and I don't think Microsoft is really expecting any growth. The only next logical time Microsoft might be able to leverage this cloud technology and see some potential sustainable growth is actually what they're trying to do if the EU sort of makes this happen, that third-party app store. Remember, Microsoft has argued when they were in the courts that says, look, if we want to be able to launch a third-party app store on iOS, just as an example, or Google, whoever, we would need the whole gaming community, effectively, like Call of Duty, the big titles in that store to get people to come in and play. If their cloud gaming technology is up to snuff, then what they could do is make it real easy to pop in and out of at least trials based on what Xbox has said. And so that might be another really lucrative way, and why I don't think Microsoft will dump this technology anytime soon. One, they want to remain competitive. Like, there are other tools out there. We all know about NVIDIA, GeForce, or GeForce Now. There's Amazon Luna, although we have probably the least amount of data when it comes to Luna about how it's performing, sort of across the board. Amazon sure isn't sharing anything within their data, but Microsoft has obviously given us some information. So I think that might be the reason why Microsoft is holding on and keeping and maintaining the course, is so that they could eventually do that. Will they do that? That hinges on so many other things, such as getting a store up and running on these devices, once the courts mandate it and the EU does, which it feels like that's the way we're going. But again, the wheels of justice, the courts of justice are slow moving, and I don't expect this to be sort of an overnight thing. The EU is where it would start, and then will it happen in the US? Who really knows? Which would be hilariously ironic that the best xCloud or cloud gaming capacity is in the United States, but then it's in the European communities where the whole thing starts to get some traction. So we will see. We will see what happens here. I want to say we shouldn't have to wait too long, but I guess keep your eyes and ears open to see what Microsoft continues to say about cloud gaming, and if they really launch anything new or try to put any effort into the hype cycle related to the platform. So, as always, my friends, that's all we got this time, but make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.